Good evening and welcome back to the Triple Overtime Episode 4. Chris Lauk alongside Matthew Hicks in two separate locations. State of Massachusetts playing. Matt and I have a long history with this song, going back to 8th grade. And Matt, want to share that little anecdote we talked about earlier today?
Yeah, back in Miss Avery's 8th grade history class, we wrote a little video essay, if you will. It was about the Irish immigrants. Looking back, probably one of the proudest projects I've accomplished, especially in middle school. So I was a big fan of it. But unfortunately, Miss Avery lost those audio files, and unfortunately they will never be able to. We'll never be able to watch.
This would be one of those great moments to say, "If you know, you know," as a lot of 8th grade Yellow Team members do know that story. But State of Massachusetts, let's jump right into the NBA at TD Garden. The Celtics came off a win last night, but I want to talk about the juicier game. The game against, quote-unquote, the best team in the world, the Golden State Warriors. And Matt, Sunday night, I know I took a couple L's. I wasn't really watching this game until the fourth quarter because I was too busy watching Syracuse against Georgia Tech, and that was a blowout. We got our butts spanked by 22 points.
Was it Georgia or Virginia Tech there, Chris?
It was Virginia Tech. We also lost to Georgia Tech earlier in the season, which is a loss we will not discuss. But Matt, what did you see in this loss to the Warriors?
Well, I'm not too disappointed in the loss to the Warriors. I mean, you're gonna lose to the Warriors are the best team in the league. I mean, what are you gonna do? Celtics came out, put a good effort in. So I'm not really too worried about that loss. It's the losses to Orlando and Brooklyn and like the Knicks where you're losing by 10 plus points. Those are the ones that's been concerning me this year. But seeing those two go head to head, two of the best teams in the league, it was a good game to watch. And unfortunately, the Celtics just came off on the short end that day.
Now, like I said, I only watched this about the fourth quarter on, but within the last about let's say minute and a half, so like the last 90 seconds of this game, I thought the Celtics had several opportunities to run away with this game. And the first one being, I believe Durant just airballed it to the sideline. And that was one turnover that the Celtics could have scored on and capitalized on, let go. I think another one was a foul Kyrie made on, I'll say Steph Curry that led to like the last two big free throws of the game that really sealed it. But there were a couple plays I thought the Celtics had a shot. It was close basically all game, but I think the Celtics didn't really capitalize the way Brad Stevens wanted to in this last quarter.
Tough stretch there at the end. A couple close calls. I saw one on Durant too. I think they called one on Morris. Katie was able to capitalize on an and one. It was like a mid-range shot. He got slapped in the wrist. So the refs were calling it close. So the Morris foul and the Kyrie foul were big there at the end. But, overall, pretty decent effort, though, by the Celtics. Can't complain about that. But like I said earlier, it's the losses to Orlando, Brooklyn, and the other teams that have me more concerned about
this showed that the Celtics can compete the way we thought they would at the beginning of the season. Obviously, we'd like to see a win against the defending champs, but they came up short, and a lot of people were expecting this, at the beginning of the season at least, to be an early championship matchup. What do you think about that now?
I still think that could be relevant today. I think the Celtics still have a pretty good shot of making a run. They have a very deep roster. A lot of it, I think, has to do with some of the players there. Tatum, Brown, Rozier. They're really young players. They're not used to, playing an entire regular season and putting out forth their best effort every game. So I feel like that's part of the problem. But overall, yeah, they've been underwhelming, inconsistent play in and out. They're at a 5 seed right now, but I think if the Celtics are able to get up to maybe the 2-3 range, I think they can still make a run on at least a title run.
Other news surrounding the NBA, Anthony Davis of the Pelicans requesting a trade earlier, I believe it was yesterday, saying he wasn't going to sign an extension with the Pelicans. Matt, what are some early homes you're thinking for Anthony Davis?
Well, I got a good list right here. So I'm going to start with what seems to be the most popular destination, right? The Lakers.
Right. LeBron mentioned it earlier in the season. Could be a possibility.
A possibility. The issue with me though is the Lakers really don't have the assets to make this happen. Now, the guys they could potentially move: Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart. Those are the four guys I think they can move. They're not going to trade all four because then after that it'd just be LeBron and Anthony Davis. I see the most valuable player in this four being Kyle Kuzma. He's a really good player. He's actually shined. He's played very well since LeBron's been out. Ingram's a little inconsistent. Every once in a while, he'll put up a nice 30-point game, but on the defensive side, not a very good defender, and he's really a shaky player. Now, Lonzo Ball, he's a good player, a nice up-and-coming prospect, but the problem is the Pelicans are already paying Drew Holiday a significant salary, and he's a pretty good point guard in himself, so I don't really see Lonzo Ball fitting there in New Orleans, and I just don't think Josh Hart's all that great of a player. I think he's good. I think he could be a good maybe six man on their team, but he's not a transcending talent like Davis. And another thing with the Lakers are they only own their own pick, so they don't have any extra ammunition they could throw in there. So I find it being very difficult for the Pelicans from afar to make a move to move Davis over to the Lakers, just because I don't think the Lakers have enough assets to give him.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know, like I said, LeBron was itching for a return with Anthony Davis. Or not a return, but it was pitched to him earlier in the season. He said he'd be all for it. But yeah, they have to get rid of Lonzo Ball, one of their top prospects from a year ago. This Lakers team it's already doing better than I think people thought. So why, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, Ball, like I said, I think he's a good player, but I just don't see him fitting over in New Orleans. They already have a point guard there. I think the only way the Lakers could make it happen is if they do a three-way trade, which is actually something Lonzo's father brought up, that they would want to do a three-way trade. That way the Pelicans can move Ball, and then they could maybe get another young asset or a draft pick from another team who would be interested in Ball. So for the Lakers, I think it's going to be very difficult. Now, the front runners here I have the Celtics and I have the LA Clippers. Now, for the Celtics, we mentioned it a little earlier. They have phenomenal depth. I think Jaylen Brown would be the number one guy that the Pelicans could realistically get. A very good stretch forward. He could play the 2, can play the 3, defends very well. Terry Rozier, now he's a point guard. I said, they had Drew Holiday, but he's on a rookie contract right now. He could be a 6th man, and he could be a nice little asset to a trade. Other names I threw out there, they might have to trade Horford or Hayward contract because they are like Anthony Davis has a big contract himself, so the Celtics might have to trade away those players just to have enough cap space to bring Davis on the roster. Another guy they could potentially look at, Marcus Morris, very good defender. And he holds his own offensively. You'll see him put up 20, 30 points every once in a while. And another guy, maybe even Marcus Smart. He's a good. He's getting paid a little too much, but I think he's a good spark plug. And if you're looking to change a culture there in New Orleans, I think Marcus Smart's a great guy for you. Another thing that the Celtics have also, they have Sacramento's unprotected draft pick for next season. Yes, they still have more picks, reaping the benefits of that Brooklyn Nets trade from way back 2011, 2012, whenever that was. The other front runner, the Clippers. Now, the Clippers said earlier in the season that they would be pushing hard. They'd be giving Davis a max contract if he hit the open market. Clippers could potentially make a move. They have Tobias Harris, who's a pretty decent forward right there. And they also have a rookie phenom, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from Kentucky. He's a very good point guard. He was actually one of my favorite players going into the draft who went, I think, bottom of top 10. So the Clippers do have a little bit of ammunition, but they don't have that. They don't have what the Celtics have, which would be they have a plethora of young players that the Pelicans can grab, as well as that Sacramento pick.
I think it'll be interesting to see where Anthony Davis winds up, but I want to talk a little college basketball here. The AP poll, I know I talked to you a bit about it the other day. I have a slight problem with this. The latest poll that came out, and it still surrounds the Syracuse-Duke upset. Two things I want to say. One, you're going to keep Michigan State at number 6 after a 10-point loss to an unranked Purdue. But Purdue gets moved up to 17. However, Syracuse beats the number 1 team in the country on the road. They don't get ranked, and Duke stays the same. That was my problems with that AP poll
All
right now.
All right, Chris. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to sit down. I want you to take a deep breath, because guess what? The AP poll means absolutely nothing.
It doesn't mean anything until...
It means nothing to no one. It's just so when you're watching the basketball games, oh, look, Duke's number 1 or whoever's number 1. It really doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. But yeah, some discrepancies there I could agree with. Purdue, an up-and-down team, but they've had a few good wins there earlier in the year. Of course, a few tough losses in between there as well. If you're talking about your Syracuse Orange here, I mean, Syracuse hasn't been all that great.
They have had such a
had the
hot
big win
and cold season. It is unbelievable.
Exactly. I mean, they had the phenomenal win against Duke at Duke. Some may argue it's a trap game, sandwiched between Duke's Florida State game and Virginia game. But other than that, I mean, Syracuse, you had a bad loss to UConn. I mean, the Huskies don't seem to be going anywhere this year. Like you mentioned earlier, a tough loss to Georgia Tech, and then that loss, I believe it was to
Old Dominion. That was tough.
You guys,
Old
Dominion. That's the
tough.
one I was looking
at.
That's
absolutely
Old
tough.
Dominion.
They got a couple good wins against Ohio State, 16 at the time. They beat Notre Dame, who was projected to be pretty good at the time. Not so good anymore. But
yeah,
I digress. My problem with this season, Duke's been won for the majority of the season, but we've seen 4 different teams share a good amount of time at number 1. We've seen Duke. Right now it's Tennessee, Kansas, and Gonzaga. I think there's sort of a lack of that one super dominant team that everyone talks about every year. Last year was UVA. I mean, they lost in the first round, but still, they were that dominant team that year. Usually it's Kentucky. Usually it is Duke, but like we just said, Duke has some flaws on that team.
Yeah, definitely. I think they have the most obviously have the most freshman star power on that team. Zion
Correct.
Williamson, Barrett, all those good players. My issue with Duke is their lack of shooting from beyond the arc. They are not a very good 3-point shooting team, and you saw in the Syracuse game. Syracuse runs that 2-3 zone, and they would trap Zion inside, and Duke literally could not shoot a 3 to save their life. That's their problem. Another problem I think for that team is Zion he's not very good at the free throw line. He's about a 50% free throw shooter. And you can see it in the Virginia game. That's kind of what held Duke back. Duke played very good against Virginia, but they were never able to run away with that game because they just, bottom line, couldn't make their free throws. But other teams you mentioned, Tennessee, they're a very good. They're an experienced unit. A lot of seniors on that team. They've been around for a long time. They're a very focused group. It's just what you need in the NCAA. Over their long season. Gonzaga, honestly, they've been a powerhouse for a very long time. They're always bringing teams into the tournament. They're always a 1, 2, maybe 3 seed at the least, and you're seeing it again this year. Another great Gonzaga team. A team that hasn't been number 1 that was very, very close to being number 1 is Michigan. They're looking from the outside in. Had that one loss to Wisconsin, unfortunately, but I think they're the best all-around team in the NCAA, and I think by come March, you'll see them kind of break away as the consensus number 1 team.
Well, as of right now, you see they have the best record in the NCAA. Oh, I'm sorry, Houston does. A little shocker. Michigan's 19-1. Houston's actually 20-1. But obviously, Michigan probably has a couple more bigger wins. Tougher schedule that kind of adds to that. Houston and the American. I mean, I know that conference got UConn, but not as good as the programs it used to be. Cincy is still up there, but I would say Houston, Cincy, and SMU usually dominate that conference for the most part.
And UConn. UConn, man, they have not been. It's not that long ago since they won a championship, Chris. It's been like 2 years.
They've won 4 very recently. I think some people forget that, but
yeah, they're a good. They're a good program there. But yeah, as you mentioned, it's not the powerhouse conference that Michigan's in. So yeah, I mean, a 20-1 Houston doesn't look as good as a 19-1 Michigan.
I think the main part of this podcast, the part we're really looking forward to, is Super Bowl 53.
Oh, yeah.
And before we get into the nitpicky game part about this this game, I'm actually excited for this halftime show. Now, a lot of halftime shows, I will admit, are good, but I haven't really been excited for one recently. I'm actually excited for Maroon 5.
That's a stretch there, Christopher. I like some of Maroon 5's earlier work. But as of late, yikes.
That's the thing. I think they're going to go with the earlier stuff.
That's what I hope. That's what I hope.
And there's a rumor that they're going to play that classic SpongeBob song, so we will see.
Oh.
Sweet Victory. We will see.
That would
Rumors
be
are going
amazing.
around.
Here, hold on, Christopher. Hold on. I actually have a great idea here.
Oh, boy.
I've been pitching it around, okay? College football bowl game, you call it the Bubble Bowl.
Yeah.
Have Nickelodeon sponsor it, and at halftime they play Sweet Victory.
But can you do that every single year?
Oh yeah, that would be you hold it somewhere near the ocean. You have the freaking thing come up the big bubble come right in the middle.
I mean,
It's an idea.
If
You
Maroon
throw it out
5
there.
can't pull this off, I will. First of all, I'm excited to see if they do it. And if they do it, I'm very excited to see the repercussions of it the next day.
Okay, yeah, that'll get memed pretty hard.
But Super Bowl 53, the Patriots' third Super Bowl in a row. They are 1-1 in the past 2 years. Matt, what are some successes that got these teams here throughout the long season?
Well, let's start with the Rams. I mean, the Rams, they've had a phenomenal year. Unfortunately for them last season, they were a second round out. Or actually, no, a first round out. They were a 3 seed going up against the Falcons, and they surprisingly lost. I was a little critical, honestly, on the Rams going into this year, especially how the NFL has, basically they're hiring every young offensive mind because of Sean McVay, and my argument was Sean McVay hadn't won a playoff game yet, but he's come in and he had a dominant win against a good Cowboy defense, and then they went on the road and beat the Saints, kind of, but they still beat the Saints, but did they really beat the Saints? I don't really know, but nonetheless, they're here.
Correct.
They're a very good offense. And they have one of the best defensive players in the league in Aaron Donald, and they're a great team to watch. Now, as for the Patriots, they're used to it. This is their third Super Bowl in 4 years. Listen, Chris, they've been here. You've heard all the storylines, right? They go on 11-5 season, which for the Patriots, I mean, that's kind of a down year for us. But nonetheless, they stay the course. They had to play probably two of the best teams in the AFC, had to go up against the Chargers, manhandled them, did whatever they wanted, and then getting that crucial road victory against Kansas City with probably the best player in the league, Pat Mahomes.
So here's my analysis of the Super Bowl. If you asked me by week 8, week 10ish, about halfway through the season, if you had to pick 4 teams who you think would be the championship teams, I probably would have picked those 4 teams. It's not.
Oh, absolutely.
And I probably would have said a coin toss would decide it. And let's say for at least the Rams Saints game, a coin toss would have been better at deciding that game than the way it ended.
Same thing with the Patriots too. I mean, let's face it. I mean, they had that play with Gronkowski. I mean, if D Ford lined up 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage, the Chiefs are running away with that game. So, yeah, both games really came down to a coin toss, came to overtime. You're exactly right, though. I mean, you kind of see it from far away. Right around, like you said, week 8, week 10. We thought these teams would make it, and they did. And in my opinion, they were the 4 best teams.
For the Rams, at least, I always thought they would have one healthy with Cooper Kupp. They have one of the best wide receiving groups in the NFL. And I think Goff, I was a little skeptical about Goff his first year coming up as a rookie. Didn't really prove much to me, but now we see he runs. He can get the ball downfield. He can get into those tight spots. I think this is a very high-powered offense, but because of Josh McDaniels, because of Bill Belichick, because of Tom Brady, and Julian Edelman on third downs, I still give the offensive edge to the New England Patriots. I think McDaniels and Belichick have always run a really good playbook, but having said that, the O-line really has to step up this game. They're facing 2 possibly the best defensive linemen in the NFC, Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald. I just think the X factor for the Patriots is this O-line.
Yeah, I had right here, first X factor, block Aaron Donald. How are they going to do it? The Patriots, for the most part, they do a very good job of taking away the team's best edge rusher, whoever it be. Whether it be going up when they go up against Houston, shutting down J.J. Watt, whether it be going up against let's just say Kansas City, for example, and taking away D Ford, right? Take away their best pass rusher, and they typically are lined up on the edge. Now, for Aaron Donald, he's different because he lines up inside. How are they going to account for Aaron Donald? Teams throughout this, really throughout the year, have been double teaming Aaron Donald, and it has not mattered. He still has 20.5 sacks. As you said, the best defensive lineman in the league, and it's going to be interesting to see how McDaniels and Belichick plan to block him.
Not that I'm saying this O-line can't handle it, but I'm saying this is probably the toughest D-line this O-line will be facing all season.
Well, Chris, let's kind of go back a little bit earlier. They went up in the divisional round and played the Chiefs, and that's a very good defensive line right there. You have Melvin Gordon and Joey Bosa lined up on either end. I mean, how do you
Correct.
You can't really double team any of them because, then the other one will come get you. So the Patriots account for that, right? They throw it quickly. They get it out of their hand quick. I don't know how they're going to account for Aaron Donald. They're going to maybe do exactly what I said, nice, quick releases. They could chip him before the play, something like that. And then Kansas City last week, not to get off, I went a little off track there, but Kansas City, they have a very good defensive line too, but with Justin Houston and D Ford and the Pats. To this point, have done a phenomenal job there. That offensive line has.
I think a great sort of addition to the O-line, a name you don't think will be more of a blocking kind of player, Rob Gronkowski. You saw him open up a lot of big lanes for Sony Michel in the past 2 playoff games. And usually you think Gronk, up the field, 37-yard pass or whatever. But no, he's really opened up the field for this run game for James White and Sony Michel throughout this postseason.
And you also can't count out the fullback James Devlin, one of the best in the league, and also Dwayne Allen, the guy they picked up from the Colts a season ago.
Right.
Another one of the best blocking tight ends in the game. The Patriots accounted for this. They knew they were going to have to switch their game plan up. They don't have the same weapons as they did a year ago. And you can see why Michel is running for 100 yards a game. These holes are absolutely massive. Like he said yesterday, he said anyone could run through those holes. I mean, they're so big. All the credit goes to the offensive line. So, we're going to see. That's going to be one matchup I'm looking forward to watching in this one.
Now, I said the O-line is a big X factor for the Patriots. For the Rams, though, I think sort of an odd X factor that I'm kind of thinking of right now, but I think Goff has to stay off of Stephon Gilmore, one of the better cornerbacks in the AFC that we've seen this season.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the past 2 seasons in the playoffs, some stat on Twitter I read, it was like under 30% passing completion for the opposing quarterback when he targets Gilmore's receiver.
Yep, I agree with that. We want to stay away from Gilmore. I think with Goff, it's don't press.
Right.
Take what the defense gives you. In the games that the Rams have lost, it's been because Goff has gotten. He's a gunslinger. He's a gunslinger by that's what he's always been, right? So, I was watching film against the Bears, for example. That entire game, the Bears would come out and they were taking away the big pass. They said, you know what? If you want to throw it to Todd Gurley underneath, go ahead. If you want to dump it underneath the Robert Woods, go ahead. We're taking away everything over the top. And even if they sent everyone 10, 15 yards back, Goff would have Gurley wide open, and all he had to do was dump it off to Gurley, and he would get 10, 15 yards. Goff would still force the ball down the field. That's something Goff cannot do in this game because that's exactly what the Patriots want them to do. They want to bait him into throwing into something that just really isn't there, and that is it's what the Bears did. And in the games that the Rams have lost, it's been because Goff.
Now, in Goff's defense, he has one of the best wide receivers going down the field in Brandon Cooks. He could beat out just about any safety, any quarterback. But
and I feel like that's part of the problem as well. I feel like he thinks that he's one of the best. Even if he sees the safety going over the top with the corner, he's like, I can still get it in there. But if it's not there, it's not there. You just take what the defense gives you. I think that's going to be the key for Goff.
And that is one of the problems the Patriots do face. They don't have that guy that's going to be going deep down the field on the outside routes. They had Josh Gordon, but he chose his mental health being over playing in the Super Bowl. But Julian Edelman has been a great guy to go to on third down that we've seen time and time again in the past 2 games as well.
Yeah, the Pats definitely not a vertical offense. You saw in the Chiefs game, they got in a big heavy eye, and they said, we're going to run it to you, and then and then run off play action. I think for the Patriots, going back to them for the X factor, it's going to be for them. It's going to be coming out strong. In Super Bowls past, believe it or not, you want to hear a crazy stat here, Chris? The Patriots kicked a field goal in the first quarter last season against the Eagles, and those were the first 3 points the Patriots have scored in any of the Super Bowls under the Brady and Belichick era. Not crazy?
Really? That's actually amazing. That is a very good stat.
There's a fun fact. The Patriots typically in Super Bowl games do not come out strong. I think it's going to be crucial for them to come out strong in this game, especially on the ground game. If they are able to establish the run as they did against Kansas City, as they did against the Chargers, then that's going to open up the pass game. And then if need be, as we saw late in the Chiefs game, they could save those passing plays for later in the game. And another thing that forces the Rams to abandon the run game early, and it's going to make it more obvious for them to throw the ball, and the Patriots will pick up on that.
Now, another fun fact, as you will, that I saw, if you're a Patriots fan, it's blatantly obvious, but the McCourty twins, their first year together, they make it to the Super Bowl. And if you just saw how the Chiefs game ended, that brotherly love hug at the end, that's just a really touching moment. And I'm just really excited for these two twins to be the first twins in a Super Bowl. That's just going to be a great moment to share with your brother on the same team. After being on the Browns, especially.
Yeah, that's a storyline that I expect Tony Romo and Jim Nantz to hit about a couple hundred times. And you actually heard McCourty yesterday. He said...
Which one?
He had Devin.
There you
Devin
go.
was... I guess it's both of them. Because they had the press conference together, and I think it was Willie McGinnis who was interviewing him. Said something along the lines of, "Could this be your last game?" And he's like, "Man, I don't really know." It's like, I don't know if what else I need to accomplish. This will be my 5th ring, or 4th ring, whatever, and I'll play my last game with my brother. It's like, I don't think I can get any better than that. So. Potential last game for Devin McCourty, Jason McCourty.
See, I've been hearing a
Another
lot of last games this, last games that on the Patriots. We heard it with, it all started with Gronk. Then people are still saying, oh, it's Tom Brady's last year. But now I did not hear McCourty.
They were saying that about Tom Brady for a while.
Oh, absolutely.
McCourty was yesterday.
So I didn't hear that one.
That'd be a big
one.
But
that's potentially three, not potentially, that's 3 big names on this New England team that the media thinks they could potentially lose next year. But for the Super Bowl, they're going to be all in. This is a very big game for both sides because the last time these two teams matched up, it was 0-2, I believe, Rams-Patriots. And what was interesting about, I saw an NFL Instagram page, when Brady played in his first Super Bowl, I think Gronk was like 15, Edelman was 12, and Michelle was like 6. It was something like that. It was something like that.
Around.
Yeah.
Edelman was 15.
It was 12, it was a very awesome
6,
stat that it was a great photo that was very cartoonized, obviously, because it was shot then. But a great photo that I enjoyed at least.
I saw it.
But Matt, what's your prediction for this super offensive Super Bowl?
Are we doing scores?
We'll do scores.
Okay, I like the Patriots. I'm going to say it's I'm going to go 31-28 Pats.
31-28. Interesting. I'm going to go 24-21 Pats. Feeling the field goals from this side.
Yeah, that's low scoring right there.
Hey, I feel like everyone's hyping up these offensive, but I feel like somehow defenses might pull through.
Maybe. We'll have to see.
Who's your prediction for best commercial?
Best commercial, I'm going to have to go with my boys over at Geico. They've been killing it for years now. I like the throwbacks. They've been throwing those back at you every once in a while. Like, that was funny.
I was always a big fan of Hump Day.
Maybe they'll have one big collab. It's like a 20-minute commercial during halftime, like right after the Maroon 5 concert.
That should be the halftime show.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just scrap Maroon 5, tell Travis Scott, go home, and just boom. All Geico commercials.
I'm going to go with Doritos. I think they've always had solid choices. Last year was a little interesting with the little rap battle, but I'm gonna go with I don't know. I think Doritos can pull through again.
You got a dark horse? You got like a dark horse company that might throw a good commercial in there, Chris?
A dark horse. Okay, I want to call it a dark horse or a good commercial, but I think a commercial that's gonna get the most media coverage the next day is gonna be Nike.
Oh yeah, the Nike will
Yep.
definitely.
Absolutely.
They'll come out with some sort of powerful statement with Colin Kaepernick being their Lord and Savior right in front.
It's gonna be like Kaepernick
I
when he's
see
in the
that.
Super Bowl or something.
Yeah, dude, Chris, that's a good take
It's a
right
good-
there.
it's a good take.
I can already see it.
I can already. It's gonna be all black and white. Kaepernick's gonna throw a touchdown in the Super Bowl. It's gonna be like, you can do this too.
I say watch out for wonderful pistachios.
Really?
Yep, they have some pretty good ones.
Interesting.
Sometimes you don't hear them, but they're good.
Interesting.
Wonderful pistachios is what I'm going with. Hey, and if any of these companies want to sponsor us, we are accepting. We're accepting them right now.
We are not advertising right now. We're just.
Oh, okay. No ad reads today.
We gotta get there. We gotta get some good ad reads.
Yeah, maybe next one.
Maybe Soundtrap.
Soundtrap. Shout out Soundtrap.
Shout out Soundtrap.
Making this all possible.
To make this all possible from 2 different locations.
Yep.
But let's wrap this up with a little MLB. Let's talk some free agents. I saw a headline today saying MLB players are upset or frustrated, as you will, with Machado and Harper having low markets this season. Matt, where do you think these two guys are going? There's been a lot of speculation. Everyone's saying this team's all in, but nothing is really happening yet.
Well, I got a question for you, Chris. I thought Machado was signed with the White Sox. There were reports saying. Oh.
He did not.
No,
he hasn't signed yet,
right.
but
So I saw like Machado. I saw those headlines that said Machado, White Sox give years in contract, and I thought it was signed.
It was an offer.
I thought he was already on the White Sox.
Offer.
I mean, I don't understand what these guys don't understand. Like they saw it last season. The guys waited all the way till spring training, and JD Martinez, who was the best free agent in last year's class, had to take a pay cut.
Which is funny because JD Martinez sort of trash talked the team he signed with. It got a little more, but not as much as he was probably hoping.
Yeah, this is what you can't wait till the last minute because teams will just move on.
Correct.
They really don't care. They're not gonna have the agent and players hold them hostage. It's just not what they're gonna do. I think it's bad negotiations for both the agents and the players, and it's just a bad look for them.
I think the best example is this was last year with Mike Moustakas. The Royals offered him that $17 million for 1 year qualifying offer, but obviously the agents are always like, "Don't sign the qualifying offer because I'll get you more." But third baseman Mike Moustakas only signed for $6 million 1 year with the Brewers. I think that's a perfect example of what could potentially happen with these two superstars on the market right now, especially 2 of them at one time.
Yep. I think one's just waiting for another to sign, and then that's going to be their market, and then every team's going to have to sign them for that number, and they're just going to hold it out until.
I think my
someone signs.
projection is
Can't
going
wait.
to be Machado, Padres, and Harper, Phillies. I think they're both going to the National League because I've been seeing the Padres are active, quote unquote, actively pursuing Harper, Machado, and Kimbrel, which doesn't make sense to me because they are well out of contention.
Well, ask Matt Kemp and Will Myers how that
Exactly, and the Eric Hosmer signing last offseason when he hit like 15 less homers than he would have.
Yeah, Padres have a little bit more rebuilding to do. I just don't see that being a good spot for Machado. I think he'll end up signing probably with the White Sox, and they have a nice little young core there, and maybe he might be in like third place.
And then for the returning champions, the Red Sox, they're in a more or less good spot to possibly repeat. But Matt, what do the Yankees and Astros have to do this offseason to compete with their Boston Red Sox?
Well, I think the number one thing for the Yankees going into the offseason was acquiring a dominant starter. Obviously, they went out, got James Paxton from the Mariners, but Paxton, he doesn't scare me like a Chris Sale or a Justin Verlander that the other teams in the division have. I just don't see them having a number one ace that they can throw out there at any time that's going to go in there and it's going to dominate. Now, yes, the Yankees invested a lot in the bullpen, picking up Ottavino. And I think they re-signed a lefty. What's his name?
Oh boy.
The lefty. The Red Sox were going after him too.
Yep.
Names.
Yeah, it's right
Alright, you
there.
guys
You
know
know what
who-
we're talking about.
Yeah, it's right there. You know what we were talking about.
Britton.
So the Yankees invested in the.
There we
Britton.
go.
Yep, that's the name. Zach Britton.
Is that guy ever gonna leave the AL
The Red
East?
Sox. Nah. He almost made the full circle there. If he went to the Red Sox, he would have hit every location.
Oh.
But he signed with the Yankees. So the Yankees have a lot of money
Right.
invested in their bullpen between Betanzas, Ottavino, and now the guy,
Britton.
the lefty. What's his name?
But
Britton.
see,
Yep, there
the
you
thing
go.
with the Yankees, I think they have potentially three very solid number 2 guys in their best years. I think Severino, he's a little shaky, so I'm going to call him number 2 guy. Tanaka, a 2 guy, definitely a
Yeah,
2 guy. And Paxton, definitely
Paxton
a 2
was
guy. Meanwhile, the Red Sox have 3 Cy Young winners.
There you go.
So, but more or less, they have 3 1 guys compared to 3 2 guys.
No, I wouldn't call David Price a one guy anymore. He's not the same guy
Well,
he
or
once
Rick
was.
Porcello, but they all have Cy Youngs.
All right, I mean, Cy Young. You could be Cy Young from. We can have what's his name? We can have freaking Cliff Lee come off the street and he's a Cy Young winner. It doesn't mean he's gonna.
Could have Bartolo
mean-
Colon pitch some.
Yeah, you can have Bartolo Colon. You know, he won Cy Young once. Well, you know, it's just an accolade they had back in the past. I think the Sox they have that dominant ace. They have Chris Sale, who we saw how important he was to the
And
Red
what
Sox.
amazing
You know,
was-
they could put him in any inning and he'll come in and he'll shut down. You know, the Yankees don't have that guy, and I
If
feel
the
like that's gonna hurt
Sox
them.
more or less bench Sale for a good part of the second half of the season, and they still ended up, I think it was 6 games ahead of the Yankees, which is very impressive.
Yep. I mean, the Yankees, they have the bats, right? I mean, I think the whole Andujar traded for Syndergaard and then they signed Machado. I thought that was stupid. And I
Right.
think they have a good nucleus there.
And they still have a fairly deep farm system.
Yeah, I mean, they
They
have
got a Sheffield guy.
mm-hmm.
They've got
Frazier,
they-
right? Clint Frazier.
Clint Frazier. Yeah, he's coming back from the injury he had. I think it was the first game with the Yankees. He broke his tibia.
Mhm.
So he'll probably be on the bench. They have to get rid of that Ellsbury contract though.
Yeah, they have to get rid of Ellsbury. They have to get rid of Gardner. But they have the young guys that can replace
Correct.
there. The Yankees should not sweat what they have as far as offense is concerned. They broke the record for most home runs last year. They're a very, very good offensive team. But like I'm gonna, reiterate here, they need to get that dominant starter, and they have
They
not.
also
done
need to
that.
get Gary Sanchez going for the full season, not just 1 month where he's on fire.
Yep, and then he also has to catch the ball. You know, he is a catcher.
Absolutely.
Either listen. Either have him be the catcher or have him be the DH. Figure
Right,
it out.
right.
You know what I mean? Like you can't be doing both. That was a big distraction for the Yankees. And then the Astros, they lost to us in the ALCS.
I still
I'm
think
not
that's
really
a very
concerned with
deep
the
team.
Astros.
That's probably the team that scares
Yeah.
me more than the Yankees.
I wrote right here, stay the course.
Absolutely.
You know, don't do anything too crazy. You have a
They
very
did
good team.
lose Charlie Morton though,
We'll probably see his.
who would upset me a little bit. I think he had a sub 3 ERA
Yeah,
last year.
He was
He was it was a silent guy.
He was a 4 guy for the Astros. It's really not that big of a loss. I mean, or the Red Sox lost Joe Kelly. You know, it's whatever. You know what I mean? They lost Drew Pomeranz. Whatever.
Drew Pomeranz. Oh, glad to see him go.
A big loss.
I was almost as happy to see him go as I was when Clay Buchholz left. Almost. But last but not least, the National League. Machado, Puig, and Kemp most likely will not be coming back to the Dodgers. Well, Puig and Kemp definitely won't be. Are the Dodgers still that powerhouse in the NL, or are the Brewers the clear favorite with the reigning MVP in NL?
Well, you mentioned those very important pieces leaving, but they do still have a little bit of a nice young nucleus there, including Max Muncy, who really came on strong last season, a very good story. Bellinger's still there, and then they're going to have Corey Seager come back and play shortstop for them.
Absolutely.
I
I
think he's
think
going
that's
to be
a big name for them, too.
That's going to be a big bat for them, having him play shortstop. But on the other hand, you also have a lot of aging veterans there who have hit their peak, and at this point, it's only a downhill fall for them. And it's Justin Turner over at third base. You know, he had been a big part of their success. Kershaw, he's obviously still the best pitcher in the league, but he can't be getting much better from here. He's only getting
Right.
older, and he still has the problems in the postseason as well. And then some of their bullpen guys as well. He added Ryan Madsen. He was an important reliever for them for most of the season. It's stuff like that, and you have other teams that are on the up and up. You mentioned the Brewers in our notes, saying that are they now the number 1 team in the NL? Chris, what do you think about that?
I'm going to go with the Brewers. I think they have the best outfield in the majors, next to the Red Sox. So I think that they have the best outfield in the NL. They got Kane. They got the reigning MVP, as I mentioned, Christian Yelich. And, of course, Ryan Braun, who he is aging, but he's still a solid 5'6" guy who has playoff experience. He can still hit the long ball. He hit over 280 last season. And they still have a pretty good bullpen. But I think they were the team that should have signed Patrick Corbin. I think they still need that number 1 guy.
Who?
The
The
Brewers.
Brewers?
I think they still need a
that-
top arm in that rotation, just like the Yankees do.
They need a top arm, and they're going to need to have another all-star there in the lineup. I mean, Yelich basically carried them up until the ALCS, and you saw it really hurt them when they had to go up against the Dodgers, and they were just depending on Yelich coming up with all the big hits. I feel like that's going to be a problem that the Brewers are going to encounter throughout the season and as they go into the playoffs. And I feel like there's other teams that are on the up and up. You mentioned the Brewers, good team,
The
right?
Braves,
Well, let's
definitely.
not forget about the Braves. I have them written down there. I think they can
And
make
honestly,
a really good run at it.
I know
this
they're a
season.
typical joke team, but Mets made a couple good moves. Everyone's going to be healthy.
No,
Hey?
easy there. All right, the Mets still stink. The Mets are going to be in 4th place, and they're going to have everyone traded by. Believe me,
What
it's
other
the
teams you
Mets.
got?
Just relax. Well, I got the Phillies. The Phillies, if they're able to acquire Bryce Harper on
Absolutely.
the team, that's a big addition. And if it wasn't for their historically bad second half of the season, the Phillies would have made the playoffs. I mean, they would have probably won the NL East as well.
Absolutely. I think Rice Hoskins is a very good face
got
for
Hoskins,
that
you have a-
franchise.
And
If
you
they'll
have a
get
good
Harper.
rotation there as well. They were able to sign Arrieta, and they have Aaron Nola over there. Those are 2 very, very elite pitchers right there.
Easily 2 number 1
And then you also can't count out the Cubs as well. The Cubs, I feel like they kind of got gypped last year. They were in a tough situation where they could have been the number 1 team going into the playoff, or number 1 or number 2 going into the playoffs, and then they had to go to the wild card game, and unfortunately lost to the Rockies in a very close matchup. But looking at them, they still have Chris Bryant there. They have that nice young nucleus, Baez, Russell, Chirino. They got a very good team over there. So the 3 teams, I think they're all better than the
also
Brewers.
think, kind of like you
Cubs,
mentioned with the
Phillies,
Phillies, I think the Rockies, if they didn't tank the second half of the season either, I think they could have been in that playoff race just as easily with Charlie Blackmon, one of arguably the best center fielders right now in the game, offensively at least.
The issue with me is the Rockies. They can't attract any starting pitchers to go over there. I mean, with the altitude and everything, no pitcher is going to want to go over there and just ruin their stock. So they're going to have problems signing pitchers, and that's why I
They
don't.
still got a third baseman, though, in baseball, Arenado.
Yeah, I mean they can obviously hit,
For sure.
but the pitching I think will be the issue for them.
Absolutely, but a long time away from baseball season. But we thank you for joining us tonight on Triple Overtime. This is Chris Lauk alongside Matt Hicks, and we hope you all enjoy the Super Bowl and Maroon 5.
Can't get food for the kid. Good God, we gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Oh, we gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no, we gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Oh, we gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Who is to blame in what country? Never can get to the one. Dealing in multiplication. Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Oh no, we're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Out in the street, out in the street, out in the playground, in the dark side of town. Oh, we're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Hey, we're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue. Oh yeah, rock it in the daytime, Electric Avenue. Rock it in the night, take it higher, Electric Avenue.